Warning: this podcast touches on aspects of mental health and contains references to sexual abuse, which some may find unsettling. Welcome to Spiritual Truths, the second episode, The Journey to Your Purpose, with your host, Kerry Marie. Today I'm just going to be discussing my own journey and how I managed to get through to my purpose and of my purpose in life. I'm going to do this in separate parts. This is the first part. In a further podcast, I'll go further with my story. And I'm hoping by me sharing my purpose and my story with you that I can also help you discover your own. I'm going to be referring to a few things that are in my book, Breaking Free, and how I came about me becoming a medium. So it always starts in the beginning as a child, doesn't it? I came from a very strong, devout Catholic family. I was the only girl with 5 brothers. And I was brought up in New Zealand, Auckland, on the North Shore, in a very sort of manly culture and a strict Catholic family. Right from the beginning, I was a little bit different, not only from being the only daughter and the only child, but also from how I saw the world. I had a real passion. I just loved animals. I had a huge passion for animals and the joy that they gave me, and babies and children. It's almost like I could sense their souls. As a child, I was extremely sensitive and took things to heart. The strange thing that happened to me as a child is I sensed energy around me, and it absolutely terrified me. I just used to see things and feel things, and I told my parents about this. They couldn't really understand me, and they said to me that it's just boogeymen, and there's no such thing as boogeymen. That's what they called them. And I ended up getting into my parents' bed many times because I was absolutely terrified. And they told me this was my imagination, which is quite difficult to deal with, to be honest. There was a time in my life where I woke my parents up, and I said that I'd seen my cousin John, and he was standing there, and he told me he had died in a car accident. He's only 17 at the time. I woke my mum and dad up to tell them about this, and they didn't believe me. He told me to stop being silly. Lo and behold, not long after that was a phone call that he'd indeed passed in a car accident. And I've since found that he also appeared to one of my brothers, who's no longer with us. He told me that he had the same experience as me, but he appeared in a different way to him. I just thought that was really interesting. It was quite difficult as a child, though, because I was brought up in a very strict Catholic family, and this sort of thing was very much frowned upon. So it was quite difficult that I started having these experiences, and I couldn't really understand it. Sadly, which happens to a lot of women in this world, is there was unfortunately, I was subjected to sexual abuse. And I do talk about this in my book as well. And I would suggest that if any of you have been tormented or upset by this, please go and seek help. That is so important, and speak up. But it did affect me, and I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to talk to because I felt this is my fault, which is quite often the case for people that have been in this situation. What happened at that time is this young lady appeared to me like a friend, a beautiful girl, and she told me that her name was Elizabeth. And I often got quite embarrassed at times when people would see me talking and they thought I was talking to myself, and what people say as classifies imaginary friends. I would say that quite often imaginary friends are not imagination, they're actually seeing a spirit, who I did. And I found that Elizabeth gave me so much comfort and help, because this whole thing that I was going through was actually really bad in my self-esteem, and I just didn't know who to talk to about it, which was the hardest thing. So I feel that she came in to support me through this time. And even later on in life, I talk about in my book, she appeared to me not long before I met the father of my children. So that was really interesting as well. The reason I'm bringing up this difficult subject is because it does come up further down my life. So I went through a marriage, and then very sadly it affected my children and myself, because the marriage didn't last. And they often say it's broken marriages, actually it's broken children. And it was a very hard situation for all of us. At that time, I also had to face what happened in my life. And often you go back to things where you're broken. And one of the things that came up for me was the abuse as a younger child. And I reached out to my father, who I loved dearly. My father, being a proud man, really didn't know how to deal with it. And he simply, and I don't blame him for this, but at that time he brushed it under the carpet, which was really hurtful. And I was reaching out for help and support. And this day and age, if you reach out, people are there. There's lots of help for you. But at that time, there wasn't. And I almost felt like the door had been slammed on me. And what happened, it affected me so badly. My father had passed away. My marriage had broken. And the whole thing about another relationship broke down as well. And it all came to the surface, especially the abuse. Almost to the point where I don't like speaking about it, but I almost felt I didn't want to be here anymore. The pain overwhelmed me. I was a mum with 3 children. The pain overwhelmed me. I didn't know what to do. And so I rang Lifeline actually, who put me onto the Health Foundation. And this really helped me through the journey. But what also helped me was seeing a medium that was absolutely incredible, outstanding. And the reason why I went to get help was because of this medium. It wasn't just because I got so low. And what had happened at that time, my father came through this medium, and I knew without a doubt this was my dad talking to me. The whole family had been in a lot of grief, including myself. But I knew this was my dad, and I didn't really understand it. And something my father talked about was the sexual abuse. And he said that he's sorry that this had happened. It's nothing to do with him. It was not associated with him. But he knew that I'd reached out to him. And he was just so sorry. Something he mentioned to me at that time, that I was all mixed up inside. He said, you're all mixed up inside. I didn't quite understand, what is this mixed up inside feeling? I thought there was something wrong with me, my organs or something physically. And the medium explained to me, no, this is inside myself and my soul and my emotions of who I was. And he said that I really had to get on and sort it out and do something about it. So it came about at the same time, but almost broke down. I went to seek help, and my father came along, really empowered me, and it really helped me to really get on that bike of helping myself sort out my life. And at the same time, through this pain and sorrow, which often happens with mediums, I started to develop. This medium told me that I had the gift of mediumship, and so then I started to go to evening circles, they called them, and I started to learn more and more. And this is what led me to my purpose. So for you, we often wonder why things happen to us, and sometimes we hit rock bottom. But maybe you may find from the pain in your life, by facing it, you can reach out to get someone to help you, and this will help you with your purpose. And I often find also as a medium that I'm able to help other people with their own problems because of what I've experienced. And for me, this is my spiritual truth. This is my truth, because my truth is there's something outside ourselves. There's something bigger than ourselves. There's a creative force. Some call it God, some call it divine force, divine spirit, all sorts of things. But that's the truth. There's something bigger than ourselves, and that love and life's eternal. And I know that my spiritual truth and my purpose is to help people through their own journey, through their own lives. I'm not here to fix people's grief. No one can do that, because that's personal to yourself. But through the gift of mediumship and through evidence, I'm very much an evidential medium. Medium means I like to give evidence about someone who's passed away, something I know nothing about. And through that, I'm actually able to help others on their healing journey. And I had a feeling that one day I'd be on Sensi Murder, and I was. And I'm hoping that through Sensi Murder I help the victims and the families involved. So for you, If you're scared of what this is all about, maybe just open yourself up. Maybe explore opportunities, and maybe through your own pain and grief, something amazing can happen for you. And know that when you're the student's ready, the teacher will come, and I do really believe in that. So whatever it is, I also was taught by someone that spirituality comes through different forms. For some people, it's through the truth, seeking the truth. For others, it can be through nature or service from others. And other people, it's beauty. And I realised that I find my spirituality through beauty. I love beautiful scenes, skies. I love beautiful things. I love dressing up and being creative and the joy that brings me. And by being authentic to myself, I'm honouring my authentic self. And by honouring my authentic self, I'm able to help others. So I'd like to leave this with you about going to the journey of yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be who you are. You've been made special. You've been made unique. And by following your strengths and your passion, you will open the doors to your own purpose, your own truth, and you're never alone. You walk the journey. People from the spirit world and those on earth will come and they'll help support you. And in this, you'll also be able to help others with you. Blessings and love, Kerry Marie. Warning: if you found aspects of this podcast unsettling, please seek help from a trusted person. In New Zealand, you can free call or text helpline 1737.